Hey everyone, so husband and I went shopping yesterday. Look what I found. Look at this. It's a corner secretary desk and it's in kind of rough shape on the top. There's some pretty good size gouges. If I sand it all down and fill it in, I'm probably gonna have to paint, unfortunately, but it does come with a key. There's a little key for the lock. And drawers are intact and seem to work pretty well. So I say, when it doesn't, I'm just gonna put some wax to help kind of make that smoother. So we got that. It was $25 and I had a 20% off coupon, so I got it for 20 bucks. All right, so this little piece was quite the project. It took me quite a while to even figure out what to do with it, and once I did figure out what I wanted to do, it didn't turn out the way I wanted, so I had to keep changing and going, and well, that's just kind of part of crafting and part of flipping furniture. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but it's a good accident to have. So again, we're just going to go and clean it completely, inside and out. It was really dusty, and then I'm going to just remove the hardware, and then I'm going to give it a good sanding. And at first I used an 80 grit to remove the dark varnish color, and then I went down to a 120 and then a 220 to make it nice and smooth. And my original thought on this piece was to bring it down to the wood, because I didn't like, it was kind of an orangey tone of a brown, and I wanted more of a like a gray brown color, more rustic looking. So I removed the finish on everything and ended up restaining it the color I wanted, but then it didn't turn out like I wanted it to. Okay, so on the inside, it was in pretty good condition, actually. I'm just going to take some DIY Dark and Decrepit and just kind of run it over the scratches that were in there and make it all cohesive in one color. And that turned out beautiful on the inside. And then I went ahead and did the same for the outside, and I loved the color. But my original thought was to go ahead and paint like a white on top of the stain and a milk paint so that it would chip and crack and give it that old feel. But that's not what happened. It ended up adhering really well to the wood surface, and I didn't get any crackle except for on the two little drawers inside. So we ended up going with another type of milk paint, different color. I thought maybe I can add a little bit of fall color to my booth. I've got a new space I'm getting. It's a 12 by 12 with the big window, and I need to bring in some more fall colors. I've got a lot of browns, but not enough greens and oranges, and like a mustard color. So here I am using Fusion's milk paint in the color Hotel Robe. And the milk paints are unpredictable. Sometimes you get chipping when you don't want it. Sometimes you want chipping and you don't get it, which is what happened to me. But that's kind of the fun and the beauty of it. It's just a paint that adheres really well and to raw wood. And it dries within 30 minutes, so I can't complain. So I'm using my heat gun to try and force it to crackle and chip. And it did okay on the inside, but the outside, it was just a really nice coat of paint. So I'm going to use this beeswax on the ends and stuff to put a barrier between the piece and the paint. That way it will have to chip and crackle off. And I do sell these on my online store, the reclaimedranch.com. Going in and putting on that first coat of the Hotel Robe by Fusion, and then I'm going to use my heat gun to try and make it chip and crackle. And it worked. You can see there on the drawer how it's kind of flaking off. Worked really good on the little drawer fronts. That's what I wanted over the entire piece. But that did not happen on the front part of it. So I had to change plans, switch gears, start over, and ended up, in the end, it turned out absolutely gorgeous. So I can't complain. So now I'm going to use Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color O Olive. And when I mixed this up and I started putting it on, it was too much of a spring green. I wanted more of a fall deep green color. So what I ended up doing, and I didn't film it apparently, but I added Sweet Pickins milk paint and artichoke as well, and it gave me this color, which is kind of what I was going for. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 coats of this, but I'm going to do it in sections, and I'm going to end up using my heat gun again to force it to crackle, and it ended up working out a lot better. So instead of a dark undertone coming through, I'm going to have that white, which turns out really, really pretty. So here I am with the heat gun, forcing it to crack and chip. And this is after the first coat. I went ahead and sanded with a 220 grit sandpaper just by hand to knock off any of the chunky pieces. But look how the wood grain pops through. That was kind of a nice surprise for me. I wasn't expecting that, but I thought it looked really cool. And so that's kind of what we were going for. So this is after the second coat. Going back in with the 220 grit sandpaper. Going to go ahead and distress all those pieces, those corners where I did the beeswax, and have some of that white pop through. And you can take a look here, all these big chunks that have fallen off. And then the wood grain, you can kind of see the wood grain through there. It just turned out really cool, I thought. I love distressed pieces and old antiques, and so that's kind of my style. I know there's people out there that hate it, but using the milk paint can give you a really nice finish as well without distressing. Okay, so we're going to go in with the JRV stencil, and I'm just going to do it on the drop down door here. So we're going to use some white chalk paint from Hello Hobby at Walmart. It's called Swan White. Okay, so you can see here, I'm taking my stencil brush and I'm dipping it in the paint, but I'm offloading it onto some paper towels. And then I'm using like a stippling motion as well as a swirling motion. And that can kind of give you different variances of the coloring. Like it could look faded in some areas and more heavy in some areas. Just kind of looks like it's worn over time. And so also, after I get done completely doing the entire front of this, I take some sandpaper, 220 sandpaper, and go over it and distress it again. Because some of the white was really stark white, kind of jumped out at you. So I wanted to kind of fade it into that green a little bit. In this JRV stencil, they're really, really nice stencils. They're thick, they're durable. They, some stencils you get with the little intricate details like this, the pieces end up flipping up or whatnot, and then you get bleed through on the bottom. But this was a beautiful stencil. It just worked perfectly. And I bought it from Debi, my friend Debi at lclaneboutique.com. So you can, if you want this exact stencil, you can go to her website and go under the JRV, Jamie Ray Vintage Stenciling, and she'll have it online there. And now we're going to go in with the clear wax from DIY and just give it a nice solid coat. And then it's like this was the never-ending piece. I kept looking at it going, okay, cool, we got a stencil on there. Looks good, it's distressed, but it still needs a little something. So I ended up doing the clear wax all over, and then I went back through with the dark wax and kind of just aged some of the white stenciling and the whole piece actually, just to kind of darken up that green as well and make it a little bit older. And I left the inside white just as something a little different, kind of a pop. When you open the door, it just kind of stands out a little bit at you, and I didn't want it to match the green on the outside, just because the chipping was so awesome. I didn't want to have to ruin that. So now we're going to go in with the hardware and the locking mechanism. I'm going to use some Rub and Buff and Antique Gold. And then just kind of buff it on there, and this will harden and will not be able to be removed. So I'm going to go ahead and place everything back in. And the hardware, the handles that I did was just a regular pull, but I also used the Rub and Buff on that so that it would match. Here she is. Look at how pretty she turned out. She was definitely blood, sweat, and tears on this one, but I think in the end it was definitely worth it. It's a very unique piece. And I think the color really makes it shine with the gold and the white, the distressing, everything. It just ties it all together. And I know someone's going to love this piece. Let me know what you guys think. Was it worth it for all my efforts? Or was this a big fail? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.